This illustration gives us an overview of the life cycle analysis and the three main phases within that for bottles. In this case, we have the example of glass bottles. So this is the production phase, and in most life cycle analysis studies, they include transportation in the production phase. And this is the use phase, and this is the post-use phase. So as we can see, the global warming potential in the production phase is much higher than the other phases, and we will see that in a little more detail in the next couple slides here. So what we're looking at here is from one research study that breaks down the various different parts of the life cycle of a plastic and glass bottle. So on the left-hand side here, we can see global warming potential. So the higher the column here, the higher the global warming potential. And we have comparisons between plastic PET bottles using recycled plastic, and then we have glass in two different scenarios. One that's just used once, and then one that is cycled through a reuse system. So the important things for us here to understand how the production phase is a big part of the life cycle of bottles is to see that this is the production phase here, creating the bottle and getting the resources, creating the cap, the label, other materials, transporting raw materials, packaging, and distribution. We can see all of that takes up the majority of the global warming potential for all of these types of bottles. Now the final phase, the end of life, and then reuse, which would be use, is much smaller. So you can see it's a much smaller percentage here. So let's dig into just the production part of the life cycle analysis here to get a little bit of a deeper view on this. So here's from a separate study. We can see, again, on the left-hand side, we have the kilograms of CO2 equivalent, which is the greenhouse, the global warming potential. And then each column, the higher the column, the higher the global warming potential. And this is just the production phase in this case. So we can see the various different elements here. And we can see on the bottom, we have aluminum bottles, plastic bottles, and steel bottles. So we can see the difference in the production phase of these different types of bottles. What we can see here is that, similar to the previous chart that we looked at, the actual resource here, getting the aluminum, getting the plastic, or getting the steel, is the biggest part of the production phase. And then the formation of the bottle is another big part, and then the packaging and the lid as well. And transportation is relatively small. So what we can see is the production phase has by far the biggest impact, with the use and post-use or end of life a relatively small part of the overall life cycle of bottles.